Hello, my name is Maria Colgan and I'm a Distinguished Product Manager for the Oracle database. I'm excited to talk to you today about modernizing through database consolidation. In order for companies to maintain their competitive edge, they not only have to understand what their customers are up to, but they need to be able to anticipate those customers' needs. And the easiest way to do that is to become a data-driven enterprise, or in other words, take advantage of data-driven applications. Now, these applications are going to operate on a diverse set of data, including spatial data, document data, sensor data, as well as our traditional transactional data. And that information will be pulled from multiple different sources, often in real time. And how we create value from that data is also quite different in these applications versus a traditional application. For example, they may use machine learning in order to do real-time product recommendations based on what a customer already has in their basket. They may also use machine learning to be able to do real-time fraud detection while they're processing that transaction. They may also use graph analytics to be able to identify an influencer within a community and target them with a marketing campaign for the latest product. That way, that influencer should be able to help them improve getting the word out about that product. They can also use spatial data to track goods as they're being shipped from our stores to the customers, or find the closest store to an individual customer so that they know where to go and shop. Now, these data-driven apps are also built using new development methodologies or paradigms that help accelerate the development process. These include things like microservices, event processing, API-driven development, as well as low-code development. These apps are also need to be developed and deployed 24/7, as they typically tend to be mission-critical applications. That means they can't afford to have a large window of downtime. And so all of the patching and upgrading of these systems must happen continuously and online. These new ways of generating value and developing these applications have the potential to seriously complicate your data platform architecture, but not if you take advantage of Oracle's Converged Database. Oracle's Converged Database is a database that has native support for all of the modern data types and the latest development paradigms built into a single product, making it the ideal platform to develop and to deploy data-driven applications. And not only does it support all of the different data types, data models, and workloads in a single converged database, but those models and workloads have been engineered to work better together. This allows developers to seamlessly mix and match different data types or data models in order to best address the needs of the business. Let's take a look at an example of this. Imagine we're looking to build a recommendation query that will find what movies a customer should watch next on a streaming application. That kind of query needs to span multiple different models so that we can get the right movie for that particular customer. In fact, it'll probably span 3 different models. For example, we may use graph analytics to be able to find that particular customer's community or other customers on the platform who look and behave similar to that customer. Once we've used the graph analytics to find that community, we then need to look up what movies those particular users have watched on our system. That means we'd need to go to the movie catalog, and that catalog would be a JSON document store. So once we figure out which movies those customers have watched, we move to the third model, which is a key value model, where we are looking at what star ratings those particular customers have given to the movies they've watched. Once we can track down which movies got a 5-star rating from the community, we then have a targeted list of movies to recommend to our customer to ensure that they stay on our site and they don't move somewhere else. So like I said, a converged database makes it very easy for you to be able to run that kind of query that crosses all of these different models using a single set of APIs. So don't let the diagram there fool you. When we talk about a converged database, we're not asking you to go back to using a monolithic database for your business applications. In fact, a converged database is still going to allow your applications to be modularized and containerized, with each of them storing their data in an independent data store or database container. This means that the data type or the workloads that you're working with won't actually dictate your architecture. You can pick the best architecture for your business. And with a standard set of uniform APIs for all of these different data types or data models, it's much easier for developers to be able to adopt this new technology without having to go through a steep learning curve. So you can use standard SQL to access all of these different data models or workload types, or you can REST enable your Oracle Converged Database, allowing your developers to access things like machine learning, graph analytics, deploying new databases, all through a simple API call by REST enabling that database and the capabilities within it. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, each of these modern development methodologies or paradigms greatly accelerate the development of these applications, but they do have the potential to complicate the data architecture. A converged database can eliminate that complexity by pairing each of the development methodologies with the synergistic data technology inside in the database, making it much easier for you to take advantage of them without complicating your architecture. So let's take a look at that in action. One of the most popular development paradigms today, of course, is microservices. The microservice architecture provides each developer with greater agility and independence as each aspect of the business is implemented and deployed as a separate service. Oracle simplifies microservices architectures by allowing each service to store its data in a logically separate data container that we call a pluggable database. This provides all of the isolation and independence needed for a microservices architecture. It also provides the developers with greater agility. They don't need to wait for any of the other aspects of the business to be ready if they want to upgrade or patch their particular database. And just as you would deploy your application service using Kubernetes containers, you can deploy your databases for those services using pluggable databases. And what's great about this architecture is that multiple pluggable databases can be consolidated into one or more physical databases. This enables you to manage many of the pluggable databases as one, allowing you to define one DR solution, one backup strategy, one security model, and one patching cycle, greatly simplifying the deployment without sacrificing any of the independence, agility, or performance that you want from that microservice architecture. And if one of the services does need to be upgraded or moved for any reason, you can simply unplug it from its container database and move it to another one. All of the other pluggable databases that were in the original container stay there and continue on the same model they were on, and the database that's moved can now pick up the new model or database software release that the new container database has, making it incredibly simple for you to be able to manage. You also get added advantages for that multi-tenant architecture because you can now clone any of those pluggable databases and instantly produce a copy of that production database for test or for developers, making it very, very easy for you to be able to scale. In fact, that cloning operation can also be REST enabled so that the developers could in fact have it automated for them. They would simply make a REST call and that new database would be cloned. Along with supporting all of the data types and workloads that I've talked about, as well as the modern development methodologies, Oracle Converged Database also provides industry-leading performance and availability capabilities. That makes it the most efficient platform for IT to deploy and run mission-critical workloads. Now, it's also the most secure data platform that you're going to find on the market today, with key security initiatives built in to prevent all of the leading types of data loss, as well as protecting you against security attacks. With Oracle's Converged Database, you actually get a choice in how you want to deploy it. In fact, we're very flexible with the deployment options so that they meet your specific needs. So you can deploy the Converged Database on Oracle's cloud or on a third-party cloud, as well as deploying it on-premise or by taking advantage of the best of both worlds by using our Exadata Cloud at Customer, where you're going to have the Oracle database and the Exadata infrastructure in your data center behind your firewall, but it's completely managed and operated like a cloud service. But regardless of where you deploy your Oracle Converged Database, you're going to get the same ease of use and the same cross-data synergy regardless of where it's deployed. And because it is an identical platform, you get the added benefit of easy movement between these deployment choices. So for example, if you're ready to move to the cloud now, applications that are developed and run on the Oracle database on-premise today can move directly to the cloud without needing any re-engineering to those existing applications. It's a very simple lift and shift. But perhaps the best place to deploy your Oracle Converged Database is on our Exadata infrastructure. After all, that Exadata infrastructure is the backbone of the Oracle public cloud, and it is available for you to run on-premise yourself, or as I mentioned, as part of our Exadata Cloud at Customer. Exadata is the best deployment option for the Oracle Converged Database because its hardware has been specifically designed to seamlessly scale out database workloads by allowing it to utilize all of the compute, storage, and network capabilities, and they've also been optimized specifically for these types of database workloads. It also has database performance enhancing software built in to help accelerate those workloads, whether you're running transaction processing, analytics, or a consolidated workload where you're using multiple different data workloads or data types. Finally, the automation and optimization that's built into the infrastructure makes it much easier and more efficient for IT to be able to run these consolidated environments on an Exadata platform. So let's take a look at how running on Exadata can help improve the performance of your consolidated workload. Let's start with transaction processing. The Exadata storage servers can transparently accelerate transaction processing IOs using persistent memory. The hottest data will be automatically cached in persistent memory, which has built-in redundancy across multiple storage servers. The database can then use RDMA, or remote data memory access, instead of traditional I/O to be able to read the data in that persistent memory on the storage servers. And that allows us to bypass all of the typical network and I/O software interrupts, context switches, etc., accelerating that transaction processing workload. The same is true for an analytical workload. Exadata can automatically accelerate analytics by offloading a lot of the data-intensive SQL operations to the storage cells. This allows us to improve the performance of the analytic workload by utilizing all of the CPU on that scaled-out storage cells. And it has unique algorithms that allow us to offload things like machine learning, data encryption, aggregations, even backing up the data from the storage can be accelerated because we've actually got database software running on those Exadata storage cells. They allow us to do things like take advantage of hybrid columnar compression. So as the data is being written to disk, it's automatically compressed in a format that makes it incredibly efficient to be able to access just the data that we need and process the queries down there on the storage cells, taking advantage of things like SIMD vector processing. Now, Exadata is also the best platform, though, for consolidating multiple workloads because it'll automatically prioritize latency-sensitive operations over things like analytics or batch IOs. And this means critical network messages for things like locking and cache fusion and logging can basically get in the fast lane or the express lane, and they're not going to be impacted by other IO-intensive operations. So Exadata automatically prioritizes those important workloads based on your user policies so that you get to decide how to prioritize which jobs, users, database services, even individual databases in that consolidated environment or platform. The best of all worlds, accelerating your transaction processing, accelerating your analytics, and prioritizing the latency sensitive data over IO intensive operations when you've got a consolidated platform. So if you're looking to modernize through database consolidation, you should take advantage of Oracle's Converged Database. It's going to make it simpler for you to build and deploy data-driven applications by providing you synergistic data technologies for each of the modern development methodologies you'll want to take advantage of. And by having one database for all of the different data types and data models engineered so that they all work together, you'll be able to get better cross-data synergy and be able to generate more value out of the data you've got in that converged database. And running a converged database on an optimized Exadata infrastructure will greatly simplify the IT operations, providing you a more secure platform for consolidating your mission-critical workloads. With that, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions here at the forum. I look forward to talking to you again soon.